first episode of Chatterfox Reviews. This time we're going to review a cute animated movie from Disney's Bollywood. And yes, you heard that right. I said Bollywood, not Hollywood, which means it's over in India. Anyways, it's Roadside Romeo, a wacky musical about a clever dog who starts a business and stands against a local mob boss with his newfound friends. Now, this is and has been one of my favorite foreign films for a while because, well, the story is absolutely adorable. And well, yeah, it can be a little cringy at times. I still find it to be a pretty good movie overall. So, first things first, let's get to know the cast. And we're going to start with the Guru Gang, which is a weird band of misfits, which act as the movie's main protagonists.
Got it.
Now, we'll start with Romeo, who is voiced by Saif Ali Khan. And yeah, I do kind of apologize because I'm probably going to butcher a lot of these names, but he's the main protagonist of the movie. Having once been the pet of a rich family and wanting for nothing, he quickly finds himself a stray due to an unfortunate turn of events. He's a clever individual, charismatic, and even a little bit brash, which kind of gets him into all sorts of trouble throughout the movie. Now, throughout the movie, it becomes obvious that he means well, and he even risks his tail a few times for his friends. Now, up next is Interval, who is voiced by Suresh Menon. He's kind of the comic relief character for the protagonist group, having very few actual lines in the movie. But when he does speak, it always makes me giggle a little bit. He tends to talk in movie references, which can be really confusing for an American audience, since he references a lot of Bollywood films. He is adorable, though, nevertheless, and the way he acts, even when he's not speaking, is just all around amusing. And moving on to Guru, who is voiced by Rajesh Hiri, is the leader of a group of street thugs who originally seemed like the antagonists for the movie. But it quickly becomes evident that both Guru and his gang are a little bit derpy. Guru is all heart, though, offering the main character Romeo advice throughout the movie, though it's seldom actually taken. It also becomes quickly apparent that he cares a lot for his group, even though sometimes he doesn't always act like it. Then there is Hero English, who is voiced by Kiku Sharda. He's a bit of a strange dog, though he generally is a friendly pup. He's a bit of a stereotype in the fact that he speaks both in Hindi and broken English, and it seems to lead to miscommunications sometimes in the movie. He also has this weird habit of repeating himself in various ways, phrasing what he says differently each time, but generally meaning the same thing when he does. Now, last but not least, what group would be complete without a character who just doesn't quite fit in? Minnie is the only cat in the group and is voiced by Tanaz Irani. And even though she isn't exactly a dog, she's accepted nevertheless by her friends. She's a bit of a spitfire when it comes to attitude, and it shows best in a scene where she berates the main antagonist pretty viciously. She is comically obsessed with being a dog and wants nothing more than to fit in with the group, and it leads to a few amusing conversations throughout the movie. Anyways, now we can move on to the main antagonists. They're a group that run a sort of mob racket which demand protection money from the local dogs. It's worth mentioning at this point that the currency in this particular movie is, to no one's surprise, bones. Now, we'll start with the movie's main antagonist, who is Charlie Anna. He's voiced by Havid Jafiri, and he's a massive bulldog, I believe. He's really weird, emotional, and often a violent character, serving as the dawn of his criminal group. Now, he seems like the perfect mix of amusing and insane, often making corny jokes in between screaming at or even hurting other dogs. Up next is Chanu, who is Charlie Anna's right-hand man, voiced by Sanjay Mishra. Now, he's what I like to call a gutter snob character, believing he's one of the most important people alive when in reality, he's actually of very little importance to the overall story. He serves as sort of a comic relief character for the antagonist side, and often ends up in funny situations that could also be kind of painful. Now, last but not least, for the antagonist side are the angels, Charlie's angels, strangely enough. They do giggle in the film once, but I don't think they actually have credited voice actors. Now, these three are a group of highly skilled albino Dobermans who are all girls and are trained in the martial arts, as well as really, really skilled with ropes, of all things. Now, these three pretty pups actually serve as Charlie Anna's muscle, either roping and tying up, or even beating up people that he tells them to. Anyways, moving on, I really did not know where to put this particular character because she is not part of the main protagonist group or the antagonist group, but is rather the main love interest for a couple of the characters in the movie. and that would be Layla, a beautiful white dog voiced by Kareena Kapoor, and oh my, she's actually really pretty. I don't usually like girls, but she kind of makes me blush a little. She is also by far my favorite character in the entire movie, though honestly, I prefer her before she gets her hair cut. Now, she's a performer at a place called the Moonlight Club, both dancing and singing, and performs one of my favorite songs of the entire movie, Chulena. And as I said before, she is the main love interest of both Romeo and Charlie Anna, which makes things awkward in the movie because it kind of drives a lot of the later story, especially when Romeo declares his love for her and she tells him to prove it by dancing on stage with her during her next performance. Okay, so now that we have the cast out of the way, let's talk about the story. When everything starts, we're introduced to a well-off Romeo performing the song Mein Hun Romeo on the grounds of a massive estate with golden gates, numerous sports cars, and even a private theater. This, however, turns out to be a dream, and he explains by a sort of fourth wall break that this had been his life up until really recently, when his family moved to London and simply decided to get a new dog from London. Shortly after this explanation, Romeo finds a water tap and tries to get a drink and ends up getting into trouble with Guru's gang, who he very quickly befriends by, of all things, giving them a makeover. Now, this is sort of where the cringiness starts for the movie, since this scene is fairly dopey. Not long after Romeo gets the idea to open a salon while he's talking with the group as the group's business, which takes off fairly well, right up until Chanu shows up and we're introduced to the real antagonists. Now, at first, the only real conflict here is an issue with the weekly protection money for the gang, which is corrected by an interesting sequence in which Romeo fools Chanu, steals from Charlie Anna's bone vault, and offers it up as their weekly payment after he finds out that his friends are being held prisoner. This is also where the angels are introduced. Layla is also introduced as well around this time in a sequence on a shingled rooftop where Romeo finds her practicing for her upcoming performance. It's actually a really cute scene where they meet in silence and dance on the rooftops, and at the end, Romeo tries to go in for a kiss and initially gets rejected. Now, there is also another scene on this same shingled rooftop a little later in the movie. Romeo once again meets her up on this same shingled rooftop where he knows she's going to be practicing for her performance and declares his love for her. Now, she doesn't actually initially believe him because, well, they don't really know each other very well, so she tells him that to prove his love for her, he has to come up on stage at the Moonlight Club and perform with her, which, while it is romantic as could be, lands Romeo in major trouble with Charlie Anna, who is really, really obsessed with Layla to a major degree. Now, Guru and his gang actually try to talk Romeo out of doing this because they know it's going to get him into a lot of trouble with Charlie Anna. They even go so far as to try to hold him back and hold him down while they watch Layla's performance in the Moonlight Club. But inevitably this fails, and when the song ends, the angels drag Romeo away by the throat. Now, this is also where one of the most gruesome ideas in the entire story comes out, because it's made painfully obvious that the angels tend to hurt anyone Charlie deems worth it by binding them in ropes and constricting their torso, which is legitimately a form of torture and can be excruciating and even deadly when enough pressure is applied. Ultimately, this is a pretty dark thing to have in a Disney film, but it's not the first or the last film to have such a dark scene. Anyways, while being tortured, Romeo actually blurts out that he can make Layla Charlie's girlfriend, and this is where one of the strangest plot twists kind of proves useful to Romeo because Charlie actually lets him go. Now, being the clever pup that he is, this initially leads to a scene that's actually one of my favorites in the movie, where they try to dupe Charlie Anna by having Minnie insult him while masquerading as Layla, which unsurprisingly backfires and kind of leads to another round of, Romeo getting tortured. Now, I won't go into much more detail about the plot because, spoilers, but everything in this movie leads up to a massive chase and fight scene towards the end, which I won't spoil for those of you who want to watch it, but needless to say, it's actually pretty intense for a Disney film. Now for my personal thoughts, this movie is amazingly done, and though it's filled with cliche tropes, strange and zany characters, and a lot of random plot twists, it's still pretty good. The animation style is amazing for the year and location it was released in, and has a very typical late 2000s Bollywood feel to it. Overall, I give Roadside Romeo an 8 out of 10 paws. It will likely always be one of my favorite foreign films, and for good reason. I'm kind of a sucker for a good romantic movie, especially when it's animated so well. But anyways, that's it for this one. I hope you guys liked the review, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Oh yeah, I want to show our patrons some love too because they're awesome. Their contributions help us to afford all the neat stuff we use to record. So thank you. And if you want to become a patron too, you can click the link down in the description. You'd really be helping the channel out, and you'd get a couple nifty goodies too. Anyways, if you made it this far in the video, then yay! You're amazing. By the way, subscribe! Please don't make a foxy beg.